Wow, so this series got off to a stronger start than I ever thought it would. We are now entering week 5 of sealed only Shaddolls, and I've got to be honest, thank you guys. I didn't expect that many people to want to watch the kind of crap that I do where I just flail my hands around on a playmat and open packs and stuff, but there's been incredible support on this, and I'm very happy about it. So, technically we're entering week 4, but it is week 5 of the challenge, I suppose, and we need to celebrate. Through the dark dealings of the magical merchant that we've run into a few times now, I've gotten my hands on something our deck desperately needs. Yeah, we're doing the same thing everyone else is doing. We're opening a Duel Devastator. Simply put, the most amount of matches we've lost so far has been due to the fact that we don't have an out in Game 2 and 3. This bad boy will help us get there. Technically, it is outside of our budget, because I got this for $25 and our budget is 20. But, through some dark dealings with the merchant, as mentioned earlier, we're spending 5 star chips to extend that budget by 5 for this episode only. I feel like that's a worthy thing to do, all things considered, because this box is going to get us everywhere. However, I'm just going to open this very quickly because most of you have probably seen one of these been opened before. I'm going to use my keys because who owns a pair of scissors in the year 2020? I did it. Oh, that is some Konami plastic, alright. It just literally falls apart on itself. Right. Box is open. Let's crack this bad boy up. So, opening Duel Devastator. You're presented with the contents inside. We have the predetermined bundle of cards. A decently nice storage box, actually. I might start using that. As well as, well, to some not important part, but to me, I absolutely love these. These are field centers. You're supposedly to put them on the table to designate where the middle is. You know, let's see which ones we get. I think there's 8 or 9 different ones you can get in this one. So let's see. I saw that we got a Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion. That's pretty cute. Oh, Ghost Cherries, I believe. Also pretty cute. Oh my, we're getting all the Ghost Girls. Holy, we got 4 Ghost Girls, really? What are the odds of that? Getting 4 Ghost Girls. I really like this. I love this artwork, actually. It's really adorable. As well as Spooky Dogwood. Okay, let's just put them to the side, because that is not the important part. The important part, of course, is everything in here. All of this is good. Now we have to combat the Konami plastic again. Konami, please. Didn't they used to have like a way you could open it easily? Ah, yes, I found it. It was just hidden inside of everything else. Right, so since most of you have probably seen this been opened many a times, let's go through it very quickly here. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, another hand trap, and instead of downright negating something, it destroys it when its effect activates. Definitely going in the deck because it is super good. Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is not as good as the other hand traps in the game. It's a contender, but I don't think I'll be running this. Our second copy of Ash Blossom, you already know how good this is, so we're just going to put it straight in the deck. Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion is okay. It's when they add a card from the graveyard to the hand deck or extra deck, the special summon monster from the graveyard to banish a card from the graveyard, you can negate it. It's situational, but it could definitely go in. Spooky Dogwood is just not good. Don't use it. And the new one for this, which is a Red Blossom from the Underroot. I don't think anyone has ever played this card. I still like it though, but I don't think anyone ever has. Then we have a bunch of extra deck monsters, like the old Ally of Justice Catastor, a Bryanak, very nice, Menaphis Horus, the old school Black Rose Dragon, Clearwing Fast Dragon, Stardust Spark Dragon, Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, a Trishula, which is just cool, Vermilion Dragon Mech, and then we have some Exceeds, like Abyss Dweller we could actually potentially run in the deck, though I don't think we ever would. It's a cool card nonetheless. Silent Honor Arc, Castell, Tornado Dragon is another one of those that we could potentially play. Then we have Underclock Taker, which is kind of cool, but useless to us. Lanforankis, or however the hell you pronounce this. Gaia Saber, the Lightning Shadow. Decode Talker's pretty cool. Deco Talker Extended. Topologic Bomber Dragon. I believe this is banned. Saryuja, which is very cool for combo strategies, but unfortunately we don't really have a way of... We don't exactly have a way of pulling 4 monsters on the board quickly, so I don't think this is going to be useful. Now, extra deck cards. DD Crow, amazing. Effect Veiler, equally amazing. Gate Blocker doesn't really do anything for us. Neither does Denko Saka. Neither does Inspector Border. Inspector Border. Lancey has a possible one as well. Vanity's Fiend, I don't think we're going to use. Majesty's Fiend, we're definitely not using. Pancratops, absolutely. Kaiju, absolutely. Mind Control, not so much. I don't think we're ever going to play Wave Motion Cannon. An ultra rare Super Poly upgrade, definitely using that. Book of Eclipse is not something we're going to use. Silent Graveyard is not something we're going to use. Cosmic Cyclone, absolutely. Called by the Grave, now that it's at 1, absolutely. Different Dimension Ground, not really useful for us. Typhoon isn't useful for us. Forbidden, what is this? Acrophopa? Whatever, it's not good. Dimensional Barrier we're not going to use. Lost Wind, we already have 3, but we'll definitely do a upgrade. Heavy Storm Duster is pretty good. Royal Decree isn't good for us. Anti-Spell Fragrance isn't really good for us. There can only be 1. Could be good going first, I suppose. Wiretap. Solemn Strike is super good. And then a red reboot to end it off. Just looking at the content of this box, you can clearly see that there is so many things here that are so good. So not only do we have 3 definites, 2 of them being hand traps and 1 of them just being a Super Poly upgrade, we have essentially an entire side deck just existing here. It's incredible the fact that you have all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down, I'm going to incorporate all of the cards we're going to be using and leaving aside the rest for the time being. And I will actually come back to you with a deck recap now that we're entering the official week 5. It might be nice to see the entire deck once again. So give me a couple of minutes, for you a couple of seconds, and I'll be right back. So, we've sat down and I've looked through the main deck once again to do any essential changes that I feel we might need doing now. So, from today onwards, we're going to be running 3 Squamata and 3 Wendy. These guys have been the combo starters almost every single time you dump a Squamata, you dump a Wendy, and you get any of the other Shaddolls onto the field, and it's been working so far. I feel like we have space to remove maybe 1 Squamata if needed, because it's only meant to sort of start a combo, but I digress. 2 Falco, 2 Dragon, 2 Hedgehog, and 2 Beast. We're still running this because... I don't really know. I kind of want to go down on Hedgehog, because Hedgehog has not been as useful as Dragon to me, I feel. I've had many occasions where flipping a card back to the hand has been super useful, but drawing a Shaddoll card from the deck to the hand has been negligible at best. Beast is still here, because again, you can get card draws off of it, and card draw is important. 2 Aliasters. Now that Maximum Gold has been released, and we saw that Aliaster got a reprint, it may be worth going after the 3rd. We'll see. A single Ariel still. A single Turtle. We've gone down to 1 Mathematician, as you've seen if you looked in the cards that I have in Duels on the left side of the screen. We now have a single Trick Clown, but we do have 2 Ash Blossom and 1 Ghost Ogre. For our spells and traps, I have them in my hand. We're still running... Focus. Still running 3 Shaddoll Fusion, core card of the deck, need to run it. 3 El Shaddoll Fusion. 3 Super Poly. This art is really nice in Ultra. A single Invocation, hoping we can get a second one. 2 Magical Meltdown. A single Allure, a single Foolish, and a single Pot of Avarice, as well as 2 Re-Shaddoll Incarnation. One of these, eventually down the line, is going to be replaced with... I believe it's Shaddoll Squall, which just lets us fusion summon things once a turn as a trap card. It's pretty good. And then, let's go to the extra deck. So now, amazingly, at week number frickin' 4/5, we have a completed side deck. We have 15 cards we can actually use. So let's just go through them really quickly here. We put Ghostbell and Haunted Mansion in, Kaiju, Pancratops, DD Crow, Effect Veiler, Called by the Grave, Cosmic Cyclone, our 3 Twin Twinnies, 2 Lava Golems, and 3 Lost Wind. We now have a substantially better chance to go up against some of the decks, knowing we can actually side in to beat most of it. The losses we've had so far is the fact that we cannot deal with the board, because they keep gaining advantage off of the fact that we can't stop them. But with these new cards, there's a lot we can do to halt someone in their tracks. This means that, the headlands here. Lancy can go away for now. We actually have an incredibly good deck considering how long the series has gone, is what I'm trying to say here. Just really quickly, the extra deck is unchanged. Just going to scroll through them here because you have seen them before. It remains the same. But I think that's going to do it for this opening. I will see you guys in our 5 duels with a now completed side deck. See you there.
Downright unfortunate is a good way of explaining today's duels ahead of time. But before we get there, welcome to week number 4, where our first duel is up against Zoodiac Eldlich, and boy oh boy did we not open well in this game. Our opponent simply goes off into his Zoodiac combo, getting Eldlich on turn 2, and we have literally nothing to do here. We set a dragon, we set a face down, he strikes us in the face for 1200 points of damage. He just chains his entire Eldlich combo. He goes into Predaplant. We attempt to go into Wendy to stop him from going any further. However, he does not particularly care about this, as he just flips Impermanence. Our Wendy is down. He goes into Zeus. He throws his Red Eyes Fusion from deck to grave, and we just concede knowing that we can't get out of it. We choose to go first in the second game. We go into an Aliester, drawing into Invocation, which we can't use currently. We set to pass, and our opponent simply does it again. He goes back into a Zoodiac using Fire Art Tenyi, bashes into our Aliester bites the dust. We take 300 points of damage. He goes into his main phase 2, stacks every single card he owns on top of each other, goes into Zeus, blows up the field, gets Eldlich onto the field once more with a counter, and our only out here would be Super Poly. We don't get it, and we scoop. Fastest duel yet? Possibly. In game number 2, we're going up against Cyber Dragons. We start off using a Shaddoll fusion to go into Winda on our first turn, activating the effects of Hedgehog and Falco, bringing them both back. We also have a Ghost Ogre in hand. Our opponent goes into Lightning Storm, and here I screw up forgetting that Winda cannot be destroyed by this, but we, accepted game state, we just go into it. He special summons a Cyber Dragon, uses Galaxy Soldier's effect, and manages to go into a Cyber Dragon Infinity. Falco is set on our board, and we get Winda back as he doesn't negate it. We activate Shaddoll Fusion. He lets it go through, and we go into Apkalone targeting Infinity. Infinity negates Winda, which was our Chain Link 3. We managed to pop off really well, drawing into an Aliester, drawing into an Invocation, literally drawing into everything we need to make sure that he does not go anywhere. Just before the end phase, we decide to flip up Winda. He draws a card and scoops, going into game number 2. Game number 2, he allows us to go first, which is strange. We go into Shaddoll Fusion once again, throwing a Beast and a Falco, I believe, in order to make Winda. We draw into a Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial drops us our usual combo of special summoning, a Dragon. He activates Red Eyes Fusion. Thank God we have a way to stop that with our Ash in hand. He simply summons a card, which is Core. We destroy Core, and during the end step, he attempts to destroy our Winda, which we this time realize cannot be destroyed, so it does nothing. Whoop-de-doo. He goes into Cyber Emergency, which we also Ash. 2 Ashes in this game. Dragon gets flipped up, he returns his only card to his hand, we bash him in the face for a substantial amount of damage, and our opponent now has 1 turn to go. He activates Lightning Storm once again, destroying our Dragon. We get into a Magical Meltdown, drawing an Aliester. Aliester goes off, which gets Effect Veilered, unfortunately. We simply bash through his puny defenses, dealing 1,000 points of damage, and then he scoops. I hope you don't blink, because you're going to miss the entirety of this duel. Welcome to duel number 3, where we're going up against Dragon Lynx. We get to go second in the first game, and he pops off with 1-for-1, and, well, if you've ever seen Dragon Lynx being played in 2020, you know exactly what's going to happen here. He goes into Darkness MD, gets his dragon back, goes into Romulus, Romulus drags a Divinity, whatever, Lance, Another dragon goes into Link Cross. Yeah, you can imagine he is just going to pop off with his Dragon Link combo. We do have an Ash in hand, and I decide to Ash his Hulk of Fibrax to make sure that he doesn't go into anything beyond that. But he is Dragon Links, and one interruption simply is not enough to stop him. We simply let him play his board so we can get as much information as possible, but it seems like a fairly standard Dragon Link list. We just let him go off, and then eventually, when we realize we have nothing to do here because he's going to Buster Lock us, we just scoop and go to game 2. Game number 2, we do decide to go first this time, and unfortunately, our opening draw is not great. We go into Magical Meltdown, what actually does go through, and we decide to set one of our Shaddolls and Super Poly just to make sure. On his turn, he goes into Rocket Tracer, getting into Striker Dragon, going into Legacy Guard Dragon, where we decide to Super Poly into Winda. And here I do the misplay of the century, because his Pankratops can't pop Winda, which I yet again forget, and I could have pitched Aliester here to make sure that his fight doesn't go through, essentially, but of course I am a goddamn dumbass. I let my Winda get destroyed and I draw a card. He goes off with his combo once again, and I'm sitting there afterwards thinking, shit, I could have gotten out of that. Huge misplay on my part, and it absolutely cost us the game as he goes into his combo again, which we have no retort from, and we just scoop it up, and we go to duel number 4. Ready for round number 4? We're ready for round number 4. We're going up against Dogmatika Invoked, which is supposedly the more powerful variant of the Invoked strategy. We attempt to activate our Math Magician, which gets immediately Cypher Gamma, so we're forced to just set to and pass. During his turn, he goes into Magical Meltdown, getting his Aliester off into Invocation. He goes into Almirage, goes into Secure Gardener, uses Secure Gardener in order to activate his Invocation, going into Mechaba. Mechaba's on the field, he activates the, I can't remember what that Dogmatika spell is called, but it essentially sends a card to the graveyard. He goes into his Dogmatika combo, which now puts us in an extremely bad spot already as he goes in for game on the second turn, so an OTK. Game number 2, we decide to go first, try again to get a better start. We go into Magical Meltdown this time, which does go off. We draw us an Aliester, we activate Foolish Burial to send Trickcon to the grave. We get ourselves an Invocation, we activate it, we get ourselves a Mechaba, and we set a Dragon Pass. On his turn, he also attempts to activate Aliester, to which we decide to negate, but he chains a Forbidden Chalice. He also has Triple Tactics Talent, 2 $70 cards that we just get struck with in the matter of seconds. As you can probably guess, it sets us back so far to the point where he simply goes into Purgatrio, he pops our set with no worries in the world, and simply ends the duel right then and there. Unfortunately, didn't draw into any of the sideboarded cards in this match either, but such is the way of life. Now for the only long duel of this set of duels, we're going up against Salamangreat, aka Salads. We do get to go first, and we activate our Math Magician, which gets Effect Veilered again, so we simply set to and pass. Our opponent immediately goes into their Salad combos, attempting to go back and forth between them, but we simply use our Set Fusion in order to go into Shakanaga, but our opponent still manages to go pretty far with this, going into, I believe it's Gazelle into Sunlight Wolf, setting 2. We activate Magical Meltdown, which gets ashed, unfortunately. We simply strike at the wolf, but he negates it, uses the Balinks in his graveyard. He then pops both of our cards using the, I can't remember what that specific trap is called. It's not Roar, it's the other one. Getting a Salamangreat back, getting it's not Gazelle, it's Jackal. Jackal's the one. As he does this, we use our Shaddoll Incarnation to bring back Shakanaga in defense mode. Our poor clown is once again destroyed. We go into our turn, we activate Foolish Burial, dropping an Aliester, letting us go into Invocation. We then get a Mechaba on the board, Invocation goes best to the deck, Aliester comes back to hand, we flip into attack position, and we begin striking, but he has yet another one, so we're forced to use our El Shaddoll Fusion to go into Construct. We do get some monsters back, and Construct does begin slapping him again, and this time Sunlight Wolf has no protection and is simply destroyed. We then activate the effect of Shaddoll in our graveyard to go Beast Effect and draw to discard 1. He goes into Almirage, and at this point we activate our El Shaddoll Fusion to go into Winda to make sure he doesn't extend any further from there. He goes into Sunlight Wolf once again, but since he doesn't have a special summon after this, he is forced to concede. For game number 2, we are going to go second, and our starting hand is decent. He attempts to get a thing, whatever it's called, the Sanctuary, but we ash him. Going into our turn, we activate our Shaddoll Fusion, permanently turning off his Will of the Salamangreats, using Shaddoll Fusion to go into Winda, and now we have a Winda and Apkalone start, which is pretty good. He does activate his Roar, unfortunately, so he destroys our back row with this, and we pop his back row, which unfortunately is a Trick Trap, which allows him to go into the Raid Falco. He's gigantic, cannot be touched by any card effects whatsoever, so we literally only have one out in the entire deck, which is Super Poly. So we're forced to go on the massive defensive here. He only has 2 cards in his hand, and he isn't really able to bring anything out. We go into a Shaddoll Fusion just to thin our deck a bit. We're in a Summon Construct in defense position, and we just build a wall. Falco goes to the grave doing nothing. Beast gets flipped up as we draw more cards, attempting to find that Super Poly over and over again. But he can just keep striking at us because we literally have no out to Ultimate Falco. He goes into Cyanide Mining, goes into Lady Debug, and back into his salad combos again. He does keep beating into us, but we're able to bring out another Apkalone in defense position, silencing his Jack for the moment. He strikes us down, we get a Squamata, dump a Hedgehog, and at this point we don't have any Shaddoll cards left in our deck whatsoever, so the beating just continues, and we cannot out this guy whatsoever. We draw into a Magical Meltdown just to thin our deck again, but it gets negated. We go into Pot of Avarice, which is probably the worst option we have here, since it just builds into not finding Super Poly, but we go for it anyway. We put a Cosmic Cyclone in the back. He goes back into his 3rd Sunlight Wolf, special summoning Jackal again. Jackal goes into a 2nd Sunlight Wolf, with now activates, but we chain into Ghost Ogre, but he uses his Tiny Boy in the graveyard to negate it. With Construct destroyed, we get a Shaddoll. We do manage to banish his trap card at the end of his turn, going into Shaddoll Fusion, once again going into our last Construct, special summoning Trick Clown back, taking some damage, activating Magical Meltdown, trying to fetch the 2nd Aliester, and we finally have it out to the stupid bird. We drop 2 Aliester to boost Apkalone's attack by 2,000, now beating it by 1,000, and at this point, it is sealed. He has to drop everything he has. He had a Nibiru in hand this entire time, but we only did 2 or 3 summons, so we managed to negate it. He goes into another Lady Debug, goes into a Spinny. Spinny gets discarded in order to special summon the Gazelle, I think it is. It pops us again, but we go into Winda to make sure he can't do anything stupid. Ariel banishing anything in the graveyard that could recur. At this point, we are just beating and beating and beating and hoping that we can end the game before he gets another Strix on the board. Spinny comes back, unfortunately, but there is not much we can do to this. At this point, we are... Oh, yeah, he does get it back, and he goes into his 3rd thing. He goes back into the battle phase for some reason, which could have been a misclick earlier, but I digress. It was accepted game state. Clearly, it was not meant to happen. Goes into a Sunlight Wolf and ends his turn. We draw into the perfect draw, which is Invocation with 8 cards left in our deck. We simply go into the battle phase and we start beating the ever-loving crap out of him. His protection is gone thanks to the negate of Mechaba, meaning his field is empty. He has 1 turn left and he gets a Lady Debug, which is decent. He goes into Spinny, then attempts to special summon Spinny from his graveyard, but realizes he doesn't have another Salamangreat on the board, meaning he can't do it. At this point, we realize that, yeah, this is game over. We got it. We get back our Trick Clown just for shenanigans. We don't really need to, but we do it anyway. We draw into an Ash Blossom, and we punch him for game. That was close. The fact that we didn't have an out to that bird was incredibly harsh. But for this week, we have actually gotten 3 losses and 2 wins. I am shocked at this fact, considering we just powered up our deck immensely using Duel Devastator, but we still don't have enough outs. During the 2nd turn, we are getting struck with, for example, in the Dragon Link match, where we just don't have anything. It's everything or nothing every game, and if we are very bad at breaking boards currently. That's like the main deal. The biggest fix for this would to get a Nibiru, but Nibiru is only really available in the 2019 tin as a, quote, guarantee. And there's nothing from the 2019 tin except for maybe Boral Sword that we would want in the deck. So going for it isn't really that great. It is on our pickup list, however, so we'll check down the line. But for now, I think we're going to focus on getting our core deck together. We're still missing a few Invoked cards. We're missing Predaplant Anaconda, which we're going to need if we want to splash into Dragoon, which I do. And after that, it is most likely we're going to go into maximum gold to get our 3rd Aliester as well as hopefully at least to Nibiru, because Nibiru is going to be the one to really win us games when we're going second. But for now, I'd like to thank you all for watching this far. If you enjoyed the content that I spend my time working on, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. I read them every day. If you want a response from me, that's where you go. Follow me on Twitter if you want, even though I don't post that often. And hey, I'll see you all next time. Take care out there.